Iris, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, good morning. Grace, good morning. I guess it's afternoon.
Good
David,
afternoon.
Did you have some luck with those calls on that script we were talking about? Unmute, David. Bottom left. Bottom left, David. All right, David doesn't want to talk to me. Okay, good stuff.
I wasn't calling for sale by owners.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was calling old expireds.
Old expireds are okay. Do you have some good luck?
Just one lead, but not hot enough. So no.
Well, it is hot enough. It will be hot enough. We'll make it hot enough. All right, Miguel, any luck today?
Any luck today, Neil? Two leads with two referrals.
All right, good stuff. Miguel, did you pick up a couple listings already this week?
I have one listing appointment tomorrow at 5. I have a pop bio for sale by owner, a referral from a beer Saturday between 10 and 12. And then we have a listing appointment Saturday at 2 in El Monte.
All right. So you're going to get a beer with a beer later this week?
An alcohol-free a beer with a beer, yeah.
All right. I love it. Good stuff. All right, everybody. Let's this is working, that's working, and let me make sure that's working. And all right, Mastermind with Neil Schwartz and our great guest, Chris Ryan. Let's hear it for Chris. New Jersey real estate agent, has his own book of business, and he's also a great Mike Ferry coach. This is going to be a great informational meeting today. So, Chris, why don't you give us a little Reader's Digest version of your market area, the business that you do, and how long in the market, et cetera, please?
Sure. Well, number one, thanks for having me today. Really appreciate it. And always good seeing you. And I've been in real estate for 37 years. I started, I literally graduated from college and went right into real estate. So
Wow.
never had a normal job.
Didn't have a real job.
No real job.
No real job.
No real job. So I went into so I first was going to college in North Jersey, and I took a real estate class. I was always interested in it. I had like 2 credits left in college, and I was like, while I'm doing that, let me get my real estate license. So it's probably like an hour and a half from where I grew up. Real sharp broker. It's actually interesting is that what Mike was teaching, maybe this broker saw Mike years and years ago, but would, prospect and knock on doors, all that stuff. So I was really intrigued with it. So, however, that's not where I grew up. So I actually started my career. My dad was a police officer and, knew a lot of people. So I literally, I went back to my hometown and I've been literally in this area for 37 years. So definitely know a lot of people. Yeah.
That's great. That's
great. So with a different company,
Yeah.
owned my own company for 12 years, actually a Century 21. Sold it to a Century 21. Then we got bought out by Coldwell Banker about, I guess, 8 years ago.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. So that makes you, when I called Chris the other day, we connected. He was in Cancun on a Coldwell Banker retreat. Didn't think he was expecting to hear from me.
Yeah, you saw me with Milton on the.
I did. I did. You guys were golfing.
So Neil said, "Would you do it?" And I'll do anything for Neil. So I said, "I'm in." So all good. I just got back.
Well, I appreciate
back
that.
today.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
That's really cool. You have a niche you're doing, and I want to get to that in a minute or two. But it's very exciting and very profitable for you. So we'll share that in a little bit.
Sure.
So getting started, you started with a broker that taught scripts and dialogues and prospecting, or you were left on your own in the first 4 or 5 years. How did that work for you? You
No,
remember that far back?
yeah, that's a great question. So when I first started, I just pretty much handled buyers for like a couple listings here and there, buyers for about 2 years. There was a broker in the area, pretty sharp, small group, like 5 of us. We literally prospected, like we just called all day. That's what we did. We didn't have set scripts back then, but when basically it was a very cold, like a cold call type thing. Do you know anybody in the area looking to sell? Pretty much something like that. And by just doing that, we built our business, but we prospected. Yeah, we prospected. That's how. So I learned that early on.
Early on in your career.
Yeah.
When did you connect up with Mike, or were there others before Mike?
So now I guess so it's a real quick, 1995, Century 21 I was with Century 21, and they had a breakout. I didn't even actually, because of the internet, there was not like, you wouldn't go online and see this, but I looked and I said, my broker said, hey, I heard about this guy. You should go see him. So there was a breakout session, and Mike, I went in the room, and there was a couple people in the front. Mike knew, and he's like, these people are making over 100 calls a day, and that's what they're doing, and they're making X amount of dollars. And I was like, well, I'd probably do something like that right now. So I started actually counting my contacts. I never counted them before. So literally from 1995, I have every day I prospect. Obviously I count. My numbers are huge, because it's predictable. You can make, every 30 contacts, you get a listing. So I kind of grasped that pretty early on. So my business skyrocketed, but I never saw Mike from 95 until 1999. I didn't see Mike. My goal was I made 500 contacts a week until 1999.
Wow.
So I did that. My business, but before I was in coaching, I think that year I did 86 transactions. And then after that, when I joined coaching in 1999, I've pretty much gotten better each year. There's a couple years here and there, but most of the time.
What's your highest year?
I sold 186 properties.
186?
Yeah.
With a big team?
No.
No.
Nothing too crazy. I think we had maybe 2 admin people and a couple agents. Yeah. So 186 was the tops.
Good for you. What year was that? You remember?
Oof, probably early 2000s.
Okay, got it. Good stuff. Very, very good. So let's fast forward that to now. Your team is how big?
So I have 1 admin, and we have 5 agents.
5 agents. Okay. And that you do how much business?
I think I've done about 72 transactions.
You personally?
Personally.
Got it. And your team?
90.
Another 90?
No, 90 total.
90 total.
Yeah.
So
there's only there's 1 full-time agent and an admin / agent, and the other ones are part-time.
I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you after this to talk about that.
No problem.
Interesting. So we don't usually talk too much about this, but what do you do with your money, Chris? You must be making a fortune at 37 years.
Well, that's an interesting question right now.
I mean, you don't have to get, but do you buy real estate?
Yeah. No, I buy properties.
Good.
Yeah, right. But I sold a lot of properties. So I'm going through separations.
So that's one of the most expensive situations we have, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Good. Well, good. I'm glad. Yeah, that changes the dynamic.
You have that question.
Yeah, I had no idea. Apologize for going down that street.
No,
See, there's
it's
a
fine.
reason I don't do that. Okay, well, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so let's talk about now. So you've closed 72 transactions so far and 90 for the company. Is that pretty current?
Correct. Yeah,
You'll hit what, 100 transactions, you personally by the end of the year, you think?
pretty close.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. So you were sharing some information with us, with me, which was very cool. And it was the niche that you're developing. A lot of our agents are working on it, but you're making a fortune at it. And
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about that. So
Sure.
you don't mind sharing?
No.
Okay. So we're going to talk about something all of you have done or worked on or would work on, and that's the probate business. But in Chris's world, this is the number you shared with me was last year's number or this year's number?
Last year.
So last year you spent $50,000 on getting probate leads from whoever you could buy them from, right?
Correct.
Okay, which is something that is you can do on your own, and Chris will share with you some of that. But
Sure.
that $53,000 yielded him $500,000 last year.
Yeah.
Pretty nice return on investment. Anybody agree or disagree, or pretty cool, huh? So, Chris, let's talk about it. What's that look like for you? I mean, how did you get started in it?
Sure.
And how does that kind of run? And the laws, I got to start with the laws in California are different than the laws in New Jersey. Okay.
Correct.
So be careful of the legal side of this thing. We don't want you to stub your toe, but
Sure. No problem. I do coach an agent in San Francisco area does probate. So very, no California's New Jersey's a lot easier. That's all I got to say.
Is it the same agent that I would know?
You might know him. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah. So before I get into probate, I just go real quick here is that what happens is when the market changed a little, when inventory was tight and, expired, there's no expireds, there's for sale by owners are selling, past clients, maybe the numbers, are a little tighter. You're not getting as much business from that source. So we looked at all the sources that are, motivated sellers, right? So you got pre foreclosures, right? You have, people behind their tax, property taxes, or they have tax liens. And so we were looking at ways like wholesalers get their transactions, by a lot of different sources like that, right? Absentee owners, and then probate.
Okay.
Right? Probate is obviously not everybody has to sell. But if they're, a lot of people do have to sell, right? So we looked at that. So how I got started with that, Neil, was that probably 20 plus years ago, when the market, I guess it was early 2000s, what we saw was we were in a big population of 55 and over. So what we did was, I guess this is being recorded, but that's okay. So what we did was we looked at all properties that were going to expire that agents put a state of, right, as the owner. So we looked at all that. So what happened was we would get maybe 10 properties, 20 properties that were going to, because they were not selling. So we would have somebody go to the county and look up that research. And then when that property, we didn't call them beforehand, but when that property expired, this is before all these, Arch, Red X, all that. We had the phone numbers. So when they expired off the market, we were getting those listings left and right. So because nobody had access to the phone numbers, they could live in a different state. So that's how I got started in it. We never contacted anybody that had just passed, right? Or or the person that's handling that account. So probably about 10 years ago, we decided let's start doing that, right? So we actually did our own research, and we would call. I would call, like there's a couple ways to get probate, right? You can contact the person that's handling that estate or trust. You can call, obviously the best way is to go through the attorneys, right? When you get that, that base of the attorneys, like, they're going to give you business once you have that relationship. And attorneys, basically what they want is that they want you to handle, like, they're going to give you the list, they're going to give you the property, but they want you to handle everything. Like, they don't want to hear about, like, oh, what do we do with the inside of the property? Like, there's a lot of garbage. You just got to handle it, right? You just take care of it, get the property sold. So, and with no problems, then they're going to give you business. So
So
that's,
you really set up your organization to solve their problems.
yeah,
Got it.
because we have to be problem solvers in real estate, right? So, we sell cars, we sell, we have our own estate sale content company. So we sell we do the contents inside. We have our own company. Chris and on my team does all that. He does a great job. He's actually doing a sale right now for us. So I don't handle that. So, because everybody wants one-stop shopping. Not everybody. Some people take care of it themselves, but majority, if they're out of state, they just want somebody to handle that. So over the years, we would refer estate sale companies, and they just weren't very good. So we decided, you know what, Chris had a background in that, and so we decided to open our own company. But I really don't get involved with it. So, but it's so yeah. So basically, what we do is I get the list. I call the people up that are handling it if we don't get it from the attorney, and some people so the reason why a lot of people don't do probate or they try it is they get frustrated, right? Today I made I don't know, I made about 30 contacts, no leads today, right? So I didn't get
all
it.
probate.
All probate.
All probate. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I literally got done right before this call. Yeah, so did 30, nothing today. But I also have a whole list of, like we talked about, Neil, is like what Mike always says, if you have like expireds, if you have probate that you can't reach them on the phone, like I have an appointment tomorrow in a town, 2 towns away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my list, because I try to write all the properties. And if somebody's in Pennsylvania and their properties here in New Jersey, most likely maybe they're going to be, cleaning it out tomorrow, or they're going to be there. Right, this is probate now, or the expired I can't reach on the phone. So I'm going to map it. So I'm going to go when I learned this a long time. When you start your car, if you go to a listing appointment, see what else you can go and knock on doors in that area. It could be a past client, whatever, but you got to utilize all your time. So that's what we do with that.
So if I might, so the MLS will map all that, correct? Or do you do it through different system?
Yeah, I have an app I started using because I didn't use it, and it was very frustrating, because I would go to one and I was like, oh my God, that's on the other side of town. What is this app I use? I think it's called I have it somewhere in here. But anyhow, I'll find it. But yeah, I have an app that I use, and it maps out, like, you put all the addresses in, and it'll tell you which ones to go to first. That'll give you a whole list. So it's actually pretty good, because sometimes I'll go to one area and there could be 20 properties that I want to knock on doors. What's interesting about that is that you see different things out there, right? You'll see a dumpster or something, and it has nothing to do with, the property you're going after. But if you see somebody cleaning a house out, there's no reason why you shouldn't knock on that door, right? Because they're doing something. Right. And we've gotten some listings that way. Yeah. So
would you say that some agents don't stop or don't work on certain projects because they don't know what to say and how to say it?
Yeah, that's great. We talked a little bit about it before. So, I get coached, right? I have a coach, Larry Kozak, great coach in Canada. So we were talking about it. I said, Larry, it's crazy. I went to an expired 2 weeks ago. This happened. And I said, it's crazy because and it was a great price. I'm like, first of all, when I went to it, I was like, this has to be sold. Right. So I knock on the door, and so the gentleman's like, the house is in bad shape. So I was talking to him, and we're still working on this property. But I said, like, how many other agents knocked on your door? He said, one investor, and not one other agent. And I wanted to go to it the day it expired, but I went 2 days later because I wasn't going in that area. But nobody went. And I asked Larry, isn't that crazy that nobody goes there? He goes, you know why? And I said, what, Larry? He goes, because nobody knows what to say. They're not going to go knock on a door. Maybe during COVID, you know, because things were a little tight, maybe they would have knocked on a door or whatever the situation was. But now, for whatever reason, I don't think agents are being aggressive. You know, I don't know, like if there's a great expired, you can't reach them on the phone, go knock on the door. Like, right?
Did you
I
ever hear
mean,
that before, you guys? No.
yeah. If you're not doing that, you need to know what to say. And Neil, I mean, you know, obviously you guys role play, and like, there's no reason why you shouldn't know what to say. You gotta, if you're uncomfortable with it, you gotta get your scripts down. You gotta learn your objections, right? Don't be afraid.
So once you got involved, so you didn't have any scripts and dialogues way back in the beginning to speak of, right?
No.
So you were winging it, and if you got a pattern that worked, you worked that pattern. But until 1999, right? Until 99, until you got into coaching and they started talking about scripts and dialogues. When you started with scripts and dialogues, was every script and every dialogue perfect? Were you comfortable with it in the beginning?
No,
right?
no.
Okay. And
Nope.
and did you mess some things up occasionally?
Yeah, still
Yeah.
do sometimes. Oh,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, but sometimes.
Oh, well,
It's okay.
The only part of that is you're human, right?
Yeah, and
But that's good. So, and then you learned the product knowledge. How did you do that with regards to product knowledge? Did you preview properties or what?
yeah, previewed. Yeah, we previewed properties. You know, learn values, right? I mean, you obviously have to know, you know, what values are, right?
So, Chris, you were in the business for 10 years before you met Mike Ferry, more or less, like maybe
Yeah.
not long.
Pretty close. Yeah.
So did you know all the properties when you started to get into coaching, or did you still have to preview property?
We previewed properties. I'd have to say that's one thing I was always strong. I never wanted to go to an appointment unless I knew everything. And I'm not analytical, but I also wanted to know, like, I didn't want to be stumped by, you know, anything. So I really know, and I still do it. I really want to know everything I can about what could come up. So I really did study values of properties.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, you know,
Very
early
good.
on. And I just, one thing I would add too is that it's when I graduated from, you know, I went to college. I played baseball in college, and the one thing when I went into real estate, a lot of people in my community are like, "How's Chris going to be a salesperson? He's so shy." Right? So
Yeah.
you just have to, you know, you force yourself. Like, if you want something, you have to go and get it. Like, you know, nobody's going to give you anything. So you have to go towards that fear. Like, you know, if you don't know what to say, you know, and you're not perfect with it, just still make your contacts and, you know, knock, you know, if you have to knock on doors, you know, there's no reason why you can't do it. That's how you learn, is by talking to people. You know, what's interesting, one more thing is, so I don't forget. So I was at this Coldwell Banker event, real nice agent. We were talking, and somehow coaching came up, and they're talking about like different coaches. I won't say who her coach is, but she's like, "Oh, you know, you're with Mike. Mike is that's like a pushy type sales, right?" And this is why I'm bringing this up, is that we use scripts, right, to ask questions, right? You use questions for motivation. It's not like you're putting pressure on people. You want to know everything about somebody. So it's about asking questions and to see so the concept of, you know, using scripts, and, you know, that's how you communicate, right? That's how you ask questions to communicate. That separates a professional agent to somebody that's not professional. And I'm not saying that coaching and that the agent was very nice. I'm not saying that about that agent, but, you know, it's just, Mike's system is, it's predictable. You need to talk to people now,
And duplicatable.
and it's duplicatable, and you know your numbers. So anyhow, I have to plug Mike.
Oh, no, I appreciate that, Chris. So let's go back to probate, because that's all everybody's sitting here saying, probate. Tell me.
It's,
So,
yes, it's not glamorous, but
we talked about oh my gosh, what was the little objection that you?
okay. Yeah. Mhm.
Let's
So,
go back. Let's go back to that because I want to talk about you know what to say and how to say it, but a large part of it is because of the practice. All
yeah,
of this is easy.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't
So,
matter what they throw at you, right?
yeah, no, that's a good point. So what happens, so what I do is I want to know, like I know a lot of things that are gonna, I've been talking to a lot of people, right? I make a lot of contacts. So I hear the same things all the time. One of the things is that people are going to get very upset with you, right? They're going to be like, how could you call me? And, I've gotten listings where people have literally cursed at me. And I got, yeah, I get it. I just, basically if they say, hey, why the F you're calling me? That's unbelievable that you're actually calling about my mom's property. And, and I've been through a lot in my life where I kind of get it. So it's kind of easy. I kind of, you have to have empathy, sympathy. So I kind of say, yeah, I get that. I don't blame you for being upset. I would be so upset if somebody called me like this. And you kind of calm them down, right? And, what happens is once you get that conversation, once you can settle them down, then I can go into what I want to ask. So you can turn people around like that. The other thing is like, how did you get my phone number? Right? Because they don't know. So it's so simple with that is I tell them, like, I don't tell them like exact sources, but I'll say, because what happens is with probate, there's a lot of investors in this field. There's a lot of agents that they actually don't call. They won't call themselves. They hire ISAs, right? So an ISA, right, inside sales, they have a script, but they cannot deviate off of that script. So and that's perfect. This is the best. I love when they say, yeah, the people were whatever. I don't want to say where they're from, but when I hear that, so basically they'll say, hey, how did you get my phone number? Can I explain how I got it? And they'll be like, yeah, I want to know. So what happens, and I'm calling these people early on too, because they might not have gotten this phone call. So if they got a lot of phone calls, I'll say, do you know why you're getting these phone calls? No, nobody's explained it to me. So when you applied for probate, you go, it's public information, right? So, we get the list, we get skip tracers. What is that? Skip tracers, they gather the phone numbers, right? When you're honest with people, I'm not going to say like what companies, right? So what happens? So basically, I'll tell them the truth, right? And they'll be like, "I'm glad you told me that because nobody else did," and that opens up for me to get, to now I become their friend because I told them, not a friend, but I told them the truth. So that's pretty simple, right? So that's and the other parts are like I'm not gonna. I already have an agent. Everybody gets that. Like I have it right in front of me, and actually we came up with
You
this.
actually, Chris, 1 second.
Yeah.
You can't show this, but we were talking earlier, and he's got all his scripts put up on the wall. 37 years in the business, still has his scripts and dialogues pasted up on the wall, ready to use something, and still practices every week and previews property sometimes by mapping.
Yeah.
And just closed year to date, just his $1 million in GCI, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Okay.
Yeah. So I have everything. I have all my objection handling. You know, if you get stuck on something, right? Tell me more about that. I know this, but it's right in front of me. I mean, I'm going to share this with you. And this is one of the when they say in probate, I already have an agent that we're handling, that we're dealing with. I'm sure you'll do what most executors do and interview and talk to two agents. It will fulfill your fiduciary responsibility to the estate. Isn't that what you want? Just very simple. A lot of people, they get it. Like they have a responsibility. Maybe their neighbor down the street or whatever. So you'll get in the door. It doesn't work all the time, obviously. We're gonna sell it to a neighbor. We already have a buyer. You get all this stuff. So you just gotta roll with it. You gotta know what to say. So that's we'll probably spend a lot more time on it if we had time. But that you need to know what to say. And it could be expired, it could be a FISBO. You got to know what to say.
Absolutely. Good stuff. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that, but
No, they're good.
your scripts and dialogues are right in front of you.
Yeah, right here. Mhm.
I love it. I love it. Good stuff. So how could we start probate? What do we need to know? If we know nothing other than how to sell and list a house, if we know nothing, what would you recommend us first, second, and third activity to do?
Okay. Well, one, if you're in coaching, your coach could help you with that, right? So your coach could help you with that. My suggestion would be is to, learn about it. For like in California, it's very, it's not like New Jersey. Somebody probates a will, I can list it like in a week. California is a very different process. So number one is I would want to know how the process works, right? You want to know how your state or whatever state you're in, you want to know how that works, right? That would be step number one. The other part would be is the best way to try to get, because you have fiduciaries in California, right? You have the attorneys, right? So I would find out, like, one of the things, we got a couple more minutes here. One of the things is that if you don't know an attorney that handles that, or fiduciary, but attorneys or somebody in that field, say a real estate attorney, right? I would call the real estate attorney and say, I say, hey, if you like, I know you don't handle probate or trust or anything, but if you did get a call, if you needed to work with somebody and this attorney, who would you give that business to? And blah, blah, blah. Okay. So would you mind introducing me to that person? So I'm trying to expand my business. So even though you don't know somebody, find out like who, like in that field, who would they use? Hey, could you mind doing an intro with me for me? So that would be a way to do it. Knowing what to say. It's not, I have a script, but it's not Mike's script. So I really, wouldn't want to, get involved, but you'd probably make your own.
Email it to me. Email it on my back email.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send. I'll send it. It's not sanctioned. But that's. I would want to know the process. Bottom line, I would want to know the process, and then, just get on the phones. Neil could help you with a script about it, and just do it. Now, California is different because it does take a little longer. You need to, you need to keep in touch, like a lead, you need to keep in touch with it. The only problem with probate, and this is really the only problem with it, not everybody's going to sell in 2 weeks. So you have to make a decision, what leads you're going to keep, right? They're going to sell. But the issue is that if it gets, kicked down the road for a couple months, they're going to be talking to other people, right? They're going to be talking to investors, other agents. So you have to be really strong with your, what's your value proposition, right? What are you going to do for them? Bottom line. So you have to have a good value proposition and, willing to help them first. Because the main thing is if you call them up. So the other, and one more thing about probate is that you can't call them up. You can't call the executors up, or I'm not sure if they call that in California, but whoever handles the probate or the estate, you have to look to help them first, because you call them up and say, yeah, when are you looking to sell? That's not going to fly with some people. So how can I help? The one thing I do is like, how can I help you? Right. And when are you looking to sell it? When are you looking to sell the property for the estate? So offer help first, and then ask the question when they're looking to sell it. If you look at, hey, when are you looking to sell it? Then it might not. Offer help first. We got listings. Yeah, got listings that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just be a resource, right, Chris?
Yeah, be honest with people.
Yeah.
Right? Be honest with people. And if you're going to do it, sometimes you're, well, because this is recorded, but it doesn't matter. Use a burner phone too. Use a burner phone, because you're calling people. You don't want to be on social media that you're chasing people. we can get involved with that another time, but
So I think what Chris is referring to there is sometimes you are tagged as a spam or something like that. So if you use a couple burner phones and you just rotate through it, where
Yeah.
you call 9 or 10 people with one burner phone, and then you leave it sit for a week, and you call 9 or 10 people with another phone, and you
Yeah.
invest in 3 or 4 phones that way. It can work better. There are some calling systems that can help you do that too, but then you're gonna have to spend some money.
Yeah, we plug all those phone numbers into either Vulcan or Arch.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's who we plug them into. It's automatic dialing, and at first I only started doing that last year, by the way.
Huh?
I never used automatic dialer.
How's that working?
Oh, it's amazing.
Great, huh?
Yeah, I wish I did it a long time ago, but
A whole nother concept.
so it's all good. So yeah, that's just a quick rundown of how that would work. I mean, there's more involved with it, but that's kind of like the just a little outline
Right.
of it, right?
Chris, you open to a few questions?
Yeah.
All right, so questions for Chris, how he's running his business, how he makes, I mean, in New Jersey, what's your average sales price? What's the average commission income per deal?
Right. Well, now because of the changes, I think it's going to be higher because of the that if you're a listing agent. But right now, we're looking at about 10.5.
10,
So we're
5,
about 10,500
got
average.
it. And you've
commission.
already crossed over $1 million.
Yeah.
That would be right. So you had 90 sales between your team and you.
Yeah.
So that's exactly correct. So $1 million so far. Cool.
Yeah.
For you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So questions for Chris, probate, anything else, scripts and dialogues? Iris, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Neil. My question is, Chris, between 1995 to 1990, you made 500 contacts a week.
Yeah.
And how did you make those 500 contacts? Like call, door?
Contacts. Yeah, it was a little easier because of the it was easier because there was not caller IDs. So, but it's still tough. I mean, so the reason why I did 500 contacts is that if I didn't do it during the week, I would have to come in on Saturdays. But that was my thing, was I would not that was it, 500. I would not deviate from that. But yeah, so I would come in on Saturdays to get it done.
From calling.
Yeah.
Calling.
Past clients, expireds, all everything mixed in.
Okay. And what was your schedule like back then?
So that's a good question, because I didn't start as like in 1999 when I met Mike. I was like, and I worked a lot. I worked 7 days a week. In 1999, when I saw Mike, was like, well, you don't have to work like 7 days a week. And I was like, really? I was like, where do I sign up for that? So I signed up for coaching within an hour. Actually, the first break I signed up. But that changed my whole life, really. It did, because I didn't, my schedule was, I didn't have like a set schedule. So I would just like start maybe at 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe 9 o'clock. It was a little different then. So but I would work at 8 o'clock at night.
So did you have to call early in the morning to the evening to get every day to get the 500 contacts?
Yeah, and I would pick up the phone if there was a deal going on. I would, I was kind of all over the place, but I did make those contacts. And then in 1990, then I had a schedule when I first met Mike. I had a set schedule. I've been following that schedule. I prospect every morning. Yeah, I don't deviate from that, from 8:30 to 11:30.
Chris, did you ever monitor that calendar like Tony Smith did, where he had like 3,000 work days in a row where he never missed a schedule? Do you think you might have something similar to that?
I really don't miss a lot, but I don't know.
No.
I wish I did. That would have been interesting.
Well, Okay,
I didn't
Monica,
miss,
you had a
I don't miss too
question?
many days, except if I went to Cancun or something, but I don't miss
Well,
too many days.
if you know, it's what he counted, what we all count are work days.
Yeah,
So,
work days, I don't really, I think work day, I don't know if there's ever been I don't think there's ever been a day for when I, you know, that I really missed and not prospected either. I mean, I would feel
if
guilty
it
if I
was a
didn't.
work day and you weren't in Cancun, playing
Yeah.
around, you prospect.
Yeah, every
That
day.
was your commitment to yourself, to your family, to your business.
Yeah. Saturdays, yeah, if I'll be in this Saturday already. I have my schedule. I have a listing appointment. I'll be in here. After that, it's an early appointment, so I'll be in here
But
prospecting.
you've been 37 years. You don't have to grind anymore. Why are you doing this? I hear that all the time, don't you?
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really do. I enjoy it. I don't, it's hard because I'm a coach. So, you know, it's hard for me. It's hard for me sometimes to realize that people have a difficult time with that. Right. Because the problem is too, is that because I know it works, but if you don't know, if you don't know it works, then it's hard to do it at that level. But if you know that you're going to get success from it, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attitude's everything. Monica, questions for Chris?
Yes, thank you, Neil, and thank you, Chris. Chris, do you mind repeating the ejection handler you had for the probates when they say that they already have a realtor they're going to work with? You said something about, can you mind repeating it? Because I didn't get fully write it
Yeah, no
down.
problem. And I have to give Tim Rowan credit for this, a coach, because he's the one that came up with it. So,
Thank you,
I'm sure,
Tim.
yeah,
Not Jim Rome, Tim Rome.
Tim Rowan from Charlotte. He's a coach, great coach. I'm sure you'll do what most executors do and interview 2 agents that will fulfill your fiduciary responsibility to the estate. You know, isn't that what you want?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No
All right,
problem.
Monica, good question. Okay, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no
Miguel,
problem.
you have a hand up.
Oh,
Chris, pro tip, Chris, on a listing appointment, when would you take the co-listing agent with you? Say it was a referral or something, and what are the pros and cons of doing something like that?
okay, and maybe explain that a little bit more. Like, is it out of your area or?
No, referral from an agent. Should we go together on an appointment? Pros and cons of doing that?
You know, some people do it and it works. I tend to, I don't do it. Yeah, I just don't do it. I'd rather, you know, I'd rather go myself. So I don't, I know some agents do it. Like if a Mike Ferry agent sends somebody, like if it's in California, one of my coaching clients brought that person along. If it's a family, it's probably not a bad idea.
Mm.
Right. So yeah, I think in that situation, there's a lot of situations probably works better.
Regular situation, you're on your own, right?
Yeah, if you you know, they referred you and it's, you know, they're going to get paid already and they pumped you up like you're the agent that's going to handle this, then, you know, I don't know if you really need to get somebody to go with you on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Or that person.
Thanks, Coach.
Chris, do you have a hard stop that I have to be watching?
Yeah, I'd probably, yeah, because I have a doctor's appointment. So if I probably have time for a couple more questions.
I have one question from Loopy was, what do you consider a contact?
When I can ask a real estate, you know, when I can ask the question if they, you know, basically if they know somebody, you know, looking to sell, right? If it's, you know, if you get a wrong number, and it happens a lot, right? If I can get them, hey, you know, I'm just calling around the neighbor, because it kind of changes things at that point. So if I can ask a real estate question, or, you know, if they're looking to sell and I can have a conversation with them, I would count that.
Got it. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, let's unmute yourselves. Unmute yourselves, please. Let's give him a big hand. Chris Ryan,
Thank you,
New
Chris.
Jersey.
Thank you, Chris.
All
Hey, great,
right.
everybody.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Neil. I'll talk to you
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
got it.
Thank you. All right.
anytime.
So, good stuff. So the question we're going to ask now to finish this off is, what did we learn today from this guy? Mild-mannered, easygoing, not pushy, you know, 75 100 deals every year. Hello.
He's been doing the same thing over and over again for the last 30 some years.
Yeah, and probably never missed a prospecting day on a work day. You know, I don't know anyone except Tony Smith that could say that. Okay, that's great, great. What else do we learn today? Do I need to tell you what you learned?
I think he's a hard worker.
He's a consistent worker. Would you agree with that,
Yeah,
Gloria?
consistent.
He's a consistent worker.
Consistent, persistent.
He knows his scripts and he still has them in front of him and he still practices and does the
See,
script.
that was the thing that was an aha for me as I was talking to him before the call, and I didn't realize how deep into probate he was. And then when he said to me, yeah, I did some statistics and we spent $50,000 on probate leads, specifically, they used to buy leads and stuff like that, and that just never worked out in the right way years ago. But particularly the probate leads, because they're hard to find. They're hard to get the information. Not impossible, but a little bit more difficult to find. So he felt it made sense. So he still had to make phone calls. All he did was just getting the information. And he made $500,000 last year on that alone. That makes sense? Would you invest $50,000 to make $500,000? Don't answer. Okay, what else do we learn today?
Prospecting now.
Prospecting works, right, Sandy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got to learn the scripts and dialogues. You got to preview the property. Nothing's changed. You know, I talk to agents all the time. How? You know, the interesting part, and we hear this all the time, okay? You have the most support of any company I know of in the country. It's true, okay? And whether it's be coaches or concierge or lead management or Hunter and his team, et cetera, there's nothing else, okay? Now, I know that you think I'm just hyperventilating, and but that isn't true, okay? You have to plug into it, and you have to take it and go with it. And when you do, you will make money. Fair enough?
You're right, Neil.
Yeah?
I agree.
All right, I got two people. Thank you very much. Oh, and then there's Armand over there. Now I got three. Woohoo!
You're
All
great,
right,
Neil.
everybody.
You're great.
So, let's see. The person right now is Frank. You there?
I agree with what you said, Neil.
Thank you. Whatever I said, right?
No, if you make your calls, you're gonna make money.
You're gonna make, yeah. Frank, is that working for you?
Yes.